Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Wesley the writer, and today we're going to talk about the characters that make up my book or that play around in my book. I'm still getting used to talking about my thing, so please forgive the awkwardness. Um, but yeah, we're going to continue to do this as for the rest of the week, just talking about the new book coming out. Chapter 1 will be released on Friday, and well, with that said, I thank you so much for everything that you've been doing to support the channel. And yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Thank you. All right, everybody, welcome back. And today we're going to talk about the characters of the book. Now, in the first book, there are two main characters. And actually, throughout this series, I plan on writing it that way. And that's to kind of shed light on how we can become what we fear the most um, by giving two examples, basically. So when I had first started writing, I had first started writing. I had first started writing the book with one part only, and that was um, through the brother's eyes. But then I had started to understand that we needed a lot more context behind the reasons why he was doing what he was doing. So I decided to write the sister. And so the first book deals with Cassidy and Arthur Learman as the main characters. It's funny saying their name out loud because I've only been reading their names and writing their names. But it's almost like I'm just really making those characters really come to life now, and I'm really excited for that. Um, but anyway, sorry. Cassidy, was a special case for me because I didn't have any material for her until the latter part of me working on the book. So a lot of what I had originally was just from the brother, from Arthur's standpoint. But I don't know. I felt like I had to get a little bit more into my into a feminine side when writing for her because a lot of the things that she goes through, I've never experienced. You know, um, just from being a female, I had to be careful about writing situations because I would react completely different in those situations. Me being a 6 foot tall black guy, it's a little different than some, 5'5", white girl. And so it's like, how do I best write the character, but not have it seem like, she can easily handle this situation. And to boot, she's in high school. I've been out of high school for a long time, so a lot of the trends and stuff that I'm familiar with from my high school years, a lot of those things have changed. And well, I don't know. I think that spending a good amount of time just separating um, the obvious differences just allowed me to pin out the the whole um, the whole situation with her. But it's the finer details that I need a little bit of help with. So I found myself asking my sisters, thank God for them, a lot of questions, and also I have my wife and my mother, and just I was able to get the experiences of actual women to help me identify, some of these key things that would affect a woman in these times. And so I don't know. I feel like just having her as a character has been an exercise in separating myself from the work. I feel like being able to write a story with a uh, with a female lead has really kind of helped me to shift my perspective and be able to learn more about the experiences that a woman would go through in their life in the earlier part of their life than anything. So I'm really grateful for that insight. I will say though that I didn't spend a lot of time writing interpersonal things about a woman. It was just more so about, like, should this situation arise, how would a woman react to this as opposed to how a guy would. And yeah, so I really ran with that, and I feel comfortable knowing that Cassidy is written as well as I could do it, do her justice. A lot of the influences in the first part of the book you'll see have to do with pandering, and I think that pandering to a person's just because they're disposed to certain things. That's just the nature of advertisement and of society in general. We're always pushed into these two groups. For women, it's always cosmetics and jewelry and clothing, and for guys, it's like outdoors. Grilling and beers and hanging with the fellas and all that stuff. So it's I like the angle that I took with a lot of the influences that kind of pull them into their different groups. There is a major influence that presents itself to both characters, but primarily the main one is what ultimately makes her into the monster that she becomes. Wow, I just gave it away, but I feel like I gave it away a little bit before anyway. So, and anyway. But I like the approach, and I think that each character that I write, kind of the way that I've written them, it allows you to not just ultimately label them as a bad guy or a good guy, because there's circumstances that lead up to those things. All of this is circumstantial. You're not just going to be, you're not going to just wake up and become the worst member of society. That gets bred into you over time. Hitler didn't become Hitler until he became Hitler. Does that make sense? So you're not going to just become evil. No one's just going to call you a monster, but it's the actions that you take that make you become what people fear. And a lot of that fear is based off of what's reflected, not so much what is. Because let's face it, death happens around us all the time. People are attacked and assaulted all the time. These things happen all the time. But it's when we start to realize that that could be us. We could be the ones to do that. We're capable of being that monster. That's when you really start to feel the fear, because you're wondering at that point, am I really able to control myself? What am I really doing? Am I being controlled? Or is this just who I am? And so I feel like with all of the characters that I had written into this book, their ambitions always start out with good intention. And it's just the same thing. That's the famous saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That kind of thing. We are so focused all the time on what we want, what we can contribute, what we can get, what we can consume, that we never really stop to ask ourselves, should we do that? And again, a lot of this is regurgitated through other mediums, but in this setting, it speaks true than any other setting, I feel, that I've come across. And that's just because it's all true. It's like you have as much capacity to be the worst human in existence as the worst human in existence has the capacity to become the best person that humanity has ever seen. And my dad used to tell me this because he had went through his stint of falling into that same mindset, that if you're going to do something, be the best at it. that gets taken out of context for the purists who think that that means that you should just go and grind and be the best person ever because that's the only road in life. But no, that's what frees us up when we read the Bible. I feel it's understanding, it's seeing the moral compass and choosing what side of that compass you want to take, and realizing that if you're going to take that side, you better be the best at that side, or else you're gonna fall off and be reduced to nothing. If you're gonna be a murderer, then you already know that you're going to be a murderer. You already know that society is going to come against you. They're going to arrest you. They're going to try you. They're going to put you in prison or give you the death penalty. So because you know that, well, then you better make up in your mind that you're going to be the best at it, because you're going to reap your reward at the end anyway. The same is true for the other side of the coin. If you're going to be a good person, if you're going to go out here and do your best for society, if you're going to reject your temptations so that you can build a better future, then you better be the best at it and focus. Do what you say you're going to do. Because if you don't, well, then you're just in the middle. And being in the middle is the most miserable point, because you don't achieve anything when you don't make choice. When you don't do something, when you just let society run over you because you feel like you have no power, you become another pawn to be used, because somebody's going to make those choices. Somebody's going to make the decisions. So it might as well be you. If you're not going to make any choices in your life, if you're just going to run around and fall to the whims of whatever, temptations or whatever causes catch your ear that week, well, then you're just going to be adrift and you're not going to achieve anything. You're just going to be floating around in this void space, hoping that you can latch on to something that'll pull you out of your depravity. And that's all it is depravity. You've been deprived of your power, of your true power, of which you could accomplish. You just have to make the choices now to establish yourself in whatever space you're going to be in. And for a person that walks that thin line between good and evil, between chaos and order, before you make those decisions, you should really identify the society that you're in before you make those choices. Are you in a fascist totalitarian dictatorship, or are you in a free market capitalist paradise? Are you able to make choices that could benefit the people around you? Or are the people around you against you at every turn and you should remove yourself from that space? Are you able to think on your own? Do you have the mental capacity to think on your own? Or are you not? If your heart is moved by everything that you see on your phone or on the internet, and you aren't solely grounded in something and you're pulled away from your original thinking because some new flashy thing just presented itself, are you able to fall into those things and see them through to their completion? Or are you constantly shifted and moved around at the whims of someone above you? Well, the truth is that you have to make that decision or those decisions for yourself. No one else can do that for you. And I feel like the pitfall that we find ourselves in most cases, especially in our society today, is the fact that there's just so much and there's just so little in us that we can't make those decisions without someone else telling us the right answer. That's why so many of us start off with our projects and don't finish them. Why We are always made to feel like we don't know, why gaslighting is now being identified as the sole reason why people are oppressed and confused. Take a step back and identify what it is that's holding you up and make a decision. Are you going to serve the masters of this world, or are you going to serve the creator who created everything? Are you going to be a part of the light or a part of the dark? Are you going to follow chaos, or are you going to rule in order? I know what choice I picked, but that's up for you to decide. So anyway, with that said, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to talk about my characters. This first book is going to be the I'm going to feel so relieved just getting this first chapter out. You guys are, you just don't get, you don't understand. It's so frustrating. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for following me along with me. And yeah, as we go into this last episode coming up, I think, before the chapter, again, just having your mind to make that decision in your own life. If you are seeking that aid, feel free to just share how you feel in the comments. I, like I said at the beginning of the weeks, I like to give a scripture and a prayer, and that's primarily just so that we can start the week off right. As some people would feel like that's corny, and nobody really does that anymore online because you don't want to be identified for this or that. I'm okay with being identified as a Christian because I feel confident in my belief. I feel confident in the fact that I'm holding on to something that's guiding me in a positive direction. And I'm able to control the chaos that it presents itself in my life because I have the ultimate order behind me, or rather, I should say, within me. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. Later. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm definitely going to continue on with this format and to work on my consistency along the way. So don't be afraid to share your thoughts about how things are going. And okay, I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thank you so much.